However, the State House of Assembly has insisted that it acted within its confines following a petition received against the Chief Judge of the state over gross misconduct and abuse of office, stating various reasons. The Nigerian Bar Association has also reacted to this development, describing it as an assault on the judiciary. And yesterday, the National Assembly caucus from Benue State moved a motion on the floor of the Senate, calling on the Senate to intervene in what it described as a looming constitutional crisis in the state. There are so many angles to this development. And of course, 13 lawmakers of the Benue State House of Assembly have allegedly stated that they never participated in voting for the removal of the state chief judge, and that the quorum, which is a 2/3 majority to require this, was not gotten, and the Assembly went on to execute this decision. And so far, the 13 lawmakers have been slammed for today's edition of Perspectives, bringing you the various shades of opinion from the legislative as well as the legal community. And what this portends: is this an assault on the judicial independence, as the National Judicial Council and the Nigerian Bar Association has stated, and other commentators are observing? What will be the end result of this whole development? I've been joined here in the studio by 3 analysts who will offer insights on this subject matter. First, I'd like to welcome a former minority leader in the 9th Benue State House of Assembly, a former member of the State Assembly representing Taka State constituency, and he is a journalist, a former state chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists Benue State Council. Right Honorable Bem Mngutyo is our guest on the program. Welcome to Perspectives, distinguished Right Honorable.
Thank you very much, Nat.
We also have in the studio the Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association NBA Makurdi Branch, Barrister Kelvin Iorzenda. Welcome to our first commentator, who is a legal practitioner, Barrister Polycarp Aande. Thank you so much for joining us, Barrister Aande.
Once again.
Our efforts to get members of the Benue State House of Assembly to also join on this edition of the program yielded no result. That's this discussants here in the studio who will share insights. I am Nathaniel Nongu, welcoming you to this edition of the program. And if this is your first time tuning in, kindly be informed that Perspectives is audience participatory. At 10 o'clock, we allow you, the listener, to call in and offer your thoughts on what we are discussing. You can reach us on the number 0814-335-9292. The number once again is 699-9404, 0912-699-9404. You can also listen to us by logging onto our website on www.igetradiotv.com and access other content as well. We're available on Radio Garden and on social media platforms where our content is streaming. You can also download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, which provides you the platforms of our television online, the radio, as well as newspaper. Join us to be a part of what we are discussing here. Stay with us as we take a short breather, and once we are back, the discussion begins. Welcome back from that short break. And let me begin with you, Right Honorable Mngutyo. You were insights into what is your understanding of what happened in the state legislature last Tuesday, which the Assembly called for the removal of the Benue State Chief Judge. Did it act within the confines of provisions of what is mandated of them as a legislature?
Well, thank you very much once again, Nathaniel, for having me in your studio this morning. It's expected to be a guiding place for the executive. We do know that bills emanate from the executive arm of government. And when such bills are people-oriented, yes, the Assembly goes ahead to deliberate and work on it. But if and when such bills are anti-people, it is the onus now falls on the Parliament to advise the executive arm of government. We know that the Parliament actually should serve as an advisory board to the executive. That is one of the cardinal functions of the Parliament. But unfortunately, in our climate today, most houses of assembly or most parliaments tend to be as, if you like, rubber stamp to the executive arm of government. We do hear that the bill that came from the executive arm of government came from Government House. And I had expected...
Not a bill, for instance. It was alleged that it's a petition.
Parliamentarians would deliberate. You know, you do have an executive session before you move into the chambers for the deliberations of the day. The legislator should have asked these questions. This correspondence that has come from the executive arm of government, that they want to remove the chief judge, what are the constitutional provisions for that to be done? Did the executive arm of government adhere to the constitutional provisions to remove a chief judge? You know, these discussions were supposed to have been very robust amongst parliamentarians themselves. I'm not sure they even got to that level before going to the floor to exhibit what I would term a show of shame. As a legislator myself, a past legislator, I asked the question, you know, these colleagues of ours, how did they look at it? Because we know that these issues have happened before in our country, where governors arbitrarily remove chief judges of state. How did they end? What happened after that? Some of these cases have gone up to the Supreme Court and have been torn down in the end. And we do know that once a case is torn down at the Supreme Court, we know that that serves as a point of reference. Subsequently, such cases that are in tandem with such issues, okay, will not see the light of day. I don't know whether our legislators, do I say they were not informed or they lack knowledge, but I know that we have barristers in that assembly who should have known the law and advised appropriately. A friend of mine I left in the assembly is there. I don't know what advice he gave to his colleagues before they went ahead to do that. Well, we know that in democracy, they say the majority have a say, have the day, but minorities always have a say. Sometimes you bring a dissenting opinion, but because you happen to come under the minority, your opinion is laid aside. Maybe that is what transpired. But summarily, I would just say that it is a show of shame what happened in the House of Assembly. I'm saying this as a legislator. If I were there, certainly I would be among the dissenting voices, and I would strongly oppose that correspondence from Government House because it was not done in good light. It has look at the outcome as a result of that correspondence. Okay, it has elicited condemnations all over. It shows that it was not done in the spirit of the Parliament, the good spirit of the Parliament, which is what is intended to be.
Okay, now, Barrister Iorzenda, the NBA has reacted to this development, both at the national and the Makurdi branch of NBA as well. And of course, the National Judicial Council has stated that as far as it is concerned, Justice Gbambese remains the state chief judge until he is duly investigated, going by the petition received against it, which it acknowledged it received only on the morning of Tuesday. Give us an understanding into what is the proper procedure for removing a chief judge as outlined in the Constitution and whether the Benue State House of Assembly followed this tradition.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I would like to first start by saying that what happened on the floor of the House of Assembly on the 18th day of February 2025 is a complete rape on our judicial system of powers. I say that because the foundation of our democracy is rooted in that very good principle of separation of powers as propounded by the French philosopher and politician Baron de Montesquieu. And it is to the effect that the three arms of government, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive should act independently of each other, and none should serve as a lord over the other. And this is to ensure that the system is balanced by checking and balancing each one of them. Where a chief judge wants to go outside of his powers, the legislature can caution him. Where the executive wants to go aside its roles, the judiciary can caution. So each of them checks the other for a balanced system. That was not what happened on the floor of the House of Assembly. And I'd like to thank the former House of Assembly member who is also in the studio with us this morning for being very explicit that it was a shame. I cannot agree with him less. Now, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has made provisions for the removal of a chief judge. If you look at Section 292, which even the House of Assembly itself relied upon, the procedure is that first, whatever misconduct or allegation is alleged against a chief judge, we have to go through the State House of Assembly. And they will make an address. That is the wording. And the NJC will investigate. And then, if it is found by the NJC that such a chief judge, people should understand that this is not just about Benue State. So, if such allegations are proven, then the NJC will now write back to the governor recommending that the chief judge, so and so chief judge, should be removed. And the governor is the last authority on removal of any chief judge. And so, it is a three-way process that cannot be short-circuited. It goes through the Assembly, House of Assembly, to the NJC and back to the governor, who is the last authority on removing any chief judge. That was not done in the case at hand. And I want to say in very clear terms that what happened was unconstitutional. It was ultra-vires the powers of the Benue State House of Assembly, and it is completely null and void so far as the law is concerned and so far as I am concerned, because that procedure was not followed. What happened was that they came to the house before you know what is happening. And members of assembly have this, many of them have said that that was the first time that issue came up. It was not even referred to any committee, either the Committee on Judiciary, Privileges and Ethics, to even have anything. What they would have done is, even if they did not want to refer it to any committee to maybe put in some investigation and come up with some findings, they would have debated it robustly on the floor of the House. They never did. The next thing you see, Mr. Speaker calling that the House be divided into voting based on what Honorable Boyke Opin called. And then they went into voting. And in this voting, that House is made up of about 31 members, if I get it correctly.
32.
32.
The composition is 32.
Good. If they are 32, 13 right now
But
are saying...
Anyway, just go on.
Yes. Are saying that they did not vote for. And then Honorable Speaker himself abstained from voting. And one member was absent on that day. So if you remove 13 plus Speaker, that is 14, plus the other person, that is 15. How many are left? 16. Is 16, that is the question, is 16 two-third majority of a 32 House? Absolutely no. Two-third majority, if you convert it into mathematics, you have 66% of whatever number to make a two-third majority. How can 16 members only make up two-third majority? That is an unconstitutionality number one. That is an illegality number one. They have argued that it was 23. But if you have those other guys saying they did not vote, That is what we have. And so, that is number one. And number two, at the end of it all, the majority leader stood up. When they voted, stood up and asked, Mr. Speaker, by this voting, kindly explain to the House or state in clear terms the effect of what we have done. And if you watch that video, Mr. Speaker clearly, without mincing words, said, by this voting, the Honorable Chief Judge of Benue State, Honorable Justice Bambese, stands removed. Mind you, they didn't say he should be investigated. They didn't say they should take him to wherever, the NJCU, for him to be investigated and if found guilty, removed. They clearly, outrightly hit the gavel and say he stands removed, which they lack the powers to do so. So if the right thing has to be done, theirs was to make an address or a prayer or a recommendation to the NJC for them to investigate. They cannot be a judge in their own cause. So the NJC, please, we recommend that you be removed. We wouldn't even be here talking about this. So that is my view about what happened.
All right. But tell us why the National Judicial Council have the exclusive prerogative of investigating the Chief Justice of, Chief Judge of the state, and whether the Assembly aligned with this provision in recommending or removing, rather, the State Chief Judge.
Thank you so much for that question. Before I go in, Mr. Mngutyo, thank you so much. I adopt his views as mine, as well as my Oga, who is the Secretary of Aande Branch, Kelvin Iorzenda. I want to adopt their submissions as mine before I answer that question.
You lawyers adopt so many things, and legislators also adopt. So it's okay.
So I completely adopt their views as mine. You see, this is clearly the reason why the Constitution vested exclusive powers into the National Judicial Council to investigate and discipline the judges. It was to take care of some of this arbitrariness that you're seeing today. Assuming the NJC wasn't vested with those exclusive powers, I'm sure it would have been a smooth sail for politicians to have a field day. And so it was in anticipation and contemplation of these excesses that the Constitution vested the issues of discipline, sanction, investigation, and recommendation of removal of judges as the powers within the confines of the National Judicial Council. And you can see the reason why we are speaking today and singing a lot of discordant views, hoping and expecting to hear the outcome of the investigation from the NJC. So speaking as a public analyst, I have now to tell you that the reason why the Constitution vested in the NJC was simply to take care of these excesses, the excesses that you are seeing today. Assuming it was very loose, the Constitution was very loose about the governor and the House of Assembly, this would have had a smooth sail. But because these are constituted, the NJC is constituted by people. In fact, the chairman of NJC is the Chief Justice of the Federation. That's the chairman. And then you have so many justices of the Court of Appeal, you have justices of the Court of the Supreme Court, and you have so many other reputable judges, retired judges or serving judges who are also part of the NJC. So that is a body. It's a body vested with so much integrity, transparency, and accountability. And there are people who have grown through the ranks and have got to that point. They have seen it all. So you bring a petition, they investigate. They look at from the length and breadth of your petition to ascertain whether that petition is credible enough for them to decide and give whatever the result or give answers or solutions or decisions in respect of it. So they don't act as politicians. These are people who have been there, they've grown to the ranks, they have seen it all. So that is why the Constitution has vested them. So they are going to look at whatever petitions that comes to them. Like the Secretary says, it's not all about Benue. Wherever it comes from, the NJC investigate. If you look at section 291, sub 1 and 2, so 1 talks about federal judiciary, talks about the justice of the federal, Chief Justice of the Federation, the President of the Court of Appeal, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, all the federal judiciaries are there. They also go through this process. And then sub 2 talks about the state judiciaries. So they also go through the same process. So it's a rigorous process. It's not a process that you gloss over it one day within short moment, 5 minutes, and then give. No. They are going to look at the allegations containing one after the other, and that's what they do. So by the time they come out with the recommendations they're refutable. It's difficult for you to, because they put it there. It's not a hide and seek. Everybody looks at them. So they are very thorough, and that's what the Constitution is very deliberate. That's why it has been vested completely into their hands.
Okay, Right Honorable Mngutyo, give us an insight. When a petition comes into the House, what is the procedure for addressing such a petition before, if any voting is to be done about it, it is finally done?
The House, every House operates by committees. We have committees, every House of Assembly. And for your information, it is these committees actually that make up what we call the Houses of Assembly. One of these committees in this assembly is the Ethics, Judiciary now.
Yes.
When this correspondence came, channeled this correspondence to the Committee on Judiciary to investigate. Okay, like the lawyers who are here this morning have said, they should have subjected it to a thorough investigation. Okay, and possibly invited the chief judge or gone to his office by virtue of his position to accord him that respect, and had an interface with him, and tabled this petition before him, giving him room to defend himself. After they had done that, then they would bring their findings to the executive session again for the other members in the House to look at their findings. Okay, then they would discuss the matter in the open assembly. I'm not sure that was done, thereby even denying the chief judge the benefit of fair hearing. That was a big mistake they made. How do you just pass a sentence on somebody without hearing from him? And somebody in the position of the chief judge. Unfortunately, do I say unfortunately? Incidentally, I was the one, when I was in the assembly, that moved a motion for the confirmation of the chief judge. I was the one that moved for his confirmation before he was made the chief judge, given his track record in the profession. I stood up as an experienced member. I said, no, this man does not deserve to be subjected to the rigors of questioning by legislators, given his track record and his contribution to Benue State in judiciary. And by the grace of God, my colleagues accorded me that respect and asked the man to take a bow and go. Barely 2 years now that subjecting him to this kind of caricature exercise, which is condemnable by all standards. So like I said, when matters come, either from the executive arm of government or from wherever it came, naturally it should have gone to the Judicial Committee on Judiciary for investigation. But from what I observed, from the videos and records we have, that was not done. That was mistake number one. Every parliament will condemn that. You see, the parliament actually is the pivot on which democracy revolves. So I have always advocated for the independence of the parliament. Where you don't have independence of the parliament, you have such matters. Such cases will continue to arise till tomorrow. They'll continue to rear up their ugly heads. If you have an independent parliament where parliamentarians don't go cap in hand asking for assistance from the executive arm, I'm telling you, these matters will never finish. But when you have to buy a ream of paper and you recourse to the executive arm of government, you are at their mercy. You dance to their whims and caprices, whether good or bad. Every correspondence they bring, yes. Every correspondence they bring, yes. I'm sure that is what happened in this case. If you had a parliament that is independent, autonomous, I'm telling you, this matter will never have arisen. But because they had to play a script, all that happened in the assembly was just acting a script. If you ask the speaker or whatever, or any other member in the closet now, they'll tell you actually something happened. They didn't even know what they did. That's what they will tell you. Or do I say money or whatever, exchange hands under the table. And so they will sold their consciences. Some of them, after they are not exposed enough or they are not educated enough, if they were adequately informed, they should have known that such cases have happened once before in this country. The issue in Kwara State, for instance, when Saraki was governor. When they sacked the chief judge, that decision was upturned. But the NJC, you draw benefit from that as a house. You say no. That is during the executive session. You tell the governor, you challenge him. No, there's a precedent. This thing happened before, here and here. And what was the position of the Supreme Court or the NJC? That will give you a bearing to take an action that you will take now. If it was positive, yes, then you know that yes, you can go ahead and do it. But if it were negative, by all intents and purposes, you should abide by a decision, a judgment that was taken before, so that you will not be laughed at in the end. But as that's happened now, the parliament in Benue have subjected themselves to ridicule by the public, as if there were no sound parliamentarians here. I know that a few of them, they are very educated and informed, but I don't know how they just allowed themselves to fall into such a case. I'm a parliamentarian, for instance. I should have been supporting them if they were on the right side. I should have been supporting them here. I have no cause to support them because that action simply was condemnable. You cannot shave a man's hair. There is a proverb that says you cannot shave a man's hair in his absence. So that is my take on it, and I believe that they should retract their steps. It's not too far.
Okay. Now, Barrister Iorzenda, listening to the parliamentarian with us, he talked about independence of the legislature, but here we are talking about separation of powers. The legislature, which is the Benue State House of Assembly, is an arm of government on its own. The judiciary, which the chief judge of the state heads, is also an arm of government on its own. And the Constitution, whether we like it or not, has provided for their independence. Do you see that the independence of these two arms of government and the separation of powers between them is being adhered to in this particular circumstance?
I do not think so. And it is rather unfortunate that that is not happening. By the very essence of democracy, these three arms of government are supposed to be independent, yet to complement each other and serve as a check on the one on the other. But what we see happening practically tells us that neither the judiciary nor the legislative arm of government in the state is independent. The problem is that because each one of them depends on the executive, in this case, the governor, for every single need of theirs, they cannot muzzle the ability to reject some outrightly foolish things, or even those who may have some semblance of wisdom in them, but in the long run will make you appear foolish. And so in this instance, in this very instant that we're talking about, the honorable members of the assembly, the House of Assembly right now is made up of people who are lawyers. There are lawyers in that house. I know that the very honorable Williams Otiom is a lawyer of very many years standing. Colleagues in the Ministry of Justice who are attached to the Benue State House of Assembly. And thirdly, they have an Attorney General who is supposed to also advise. And even beyond that, their friends are lawyers, and some of them are clients to many lawyers, even senior lawyers. What is it that you cannot seek sound legal advice and ask the lawyer, or even if it is not a lawyer, veteran parliamentarians like the Right Honorable Mngutyo seated on my right here? What stopped them from? There are people who have gone to the assembly and returned, and some of them are resting in their houses. What stops you from asking them, sir, when it comes to issues like, it does not make you stupid, it rather makes you informed and more knowledgeable. So when you seek advice, nobody, the listeners and everyone out there, I want to make this very clear. We are not supporting anybody to perpetrate fraud or financial impropriety or misappropriation or anything of the sort. But what we are saying, or what I am saying as an individual, our motto is promoting the rule of law. So, what is the rule of law? Doing the right thing, following the right procedure, following the right steps, doing what is laid down, what is already laid down by the Constitution or other legislations. That if Mr. Usha, Nathaniel Nongu is alleged to have done this, don't rush to cut his head off. Take him to a judge who will look at what they are saying, and if indeed he did it, then apply the law. It's supposed to apply to all of us. So a situation where the legislature and executive say that was the first day they were getting to even hear about these allegations. Some were not even distributed that motion paper or whatever it is called, that you look at it and know that this is it. Some were not even given. Nothing was referred to any committee to deliberate upon and make informed decisions. When they are sitting, they have some limited time. So it may be that they cannot be able to finish investigating any issue at a time. But when you refer it to a smaller committee, they will take time to listen to all that is saying. If a prima facie case is established against the personality or the office of the chief judge, the person holding the office of the chief judge, then you will now come back and say, sir, Mr. Speaker, when we've investigated these are our findings. And the Speaker will make the final resolution by recommending to the National Judicial Council that, look, we have found or made out a prima facie case of misappropriation of funds, of interfering with the already written laws or already passed laws. If they did that, we wouldn't be faulting it. But they never did. It was a script that has been poorly acted. To put it in very mild terms, it was they came with a preconceived mindset to hang the person whom was alleged to do whatever they are alleging by all means. And that is not allowed in a democracy where separation of powers is practiced. So if even the governor is allowed to remove a chief judge, he's the last authority, but it has to follow a process or a procedure. It has to go to the NJC. The NJC is giving a hand in this because they are not politicians in your state. They are simply technocrats, professionals who have worked all their life hearing some of these cases. And when they make a finding of guilt on you, it simply means that they have not been influenced by any other external factors. And so they cannot be wrong in their findings. And it gives you also a latitude to be able to authenticate or validate whatever allegations are raised or leveled against that person. And so when it starts from your state and it gets to the NJC, and the NJC validates what you are saying after their investigation, then the person is recommended for removal by the governor. This is the procedure. And that is where separation of powers come in. Because you will see, it starts with the assembly, which is the legislature. It goes to the NJC, comes back to the governor, which is the executive. So the two other arms are now having a say in the judiciary. And so it would have been perfect, and I would have been here commending them if they had followed this very simple procedure. But in their haste to probably act that script, which was handed over to them by whosoever, they now rushed to sit and do some abracadabra and then pronounce the man removed. That was the clear pronouncement of Mr. Speaker. And that is what we are saying as a body, as a pressure group, the NBA, both at the national and at the state, or as a branch. We are saying that is unconstitutional. That is not allowed. Under a constitutional democracy, which we practice, that is not allowed. The man should have been investigated. The man should have been allowed a fair hearing by the NJC. And if at the end of the day you find that he's guilty, then he can be punished. And we will be here clapping hands for the honorable members of the assembly. But insofar as that was not done, that procedure was not followed, then all that they did, so far as we are concerned, is that it is unconstitutional, it is undemocratic, it is null and void, and it is of no effect whatsoever.
All right. Barrister and the legislature and the judiciary be protected in this current circumstance we have on our hands.
we must respect the procedure. We must also respect the the constitutional provisions. Let me just quickly add to what my secretary said. If you start this process, you know there are 3 processes which we call them condition precedent. First is the hearing. No, first is the investigation. You have the hearing and then you have the recommendation. This must be followed. And so even if it is followed, if at the end of the day the NJC gives out its findings, it does not foreclose the Chief Judge of Nigeria to go to court. Very many have challenged it. The window is still very open. So it's not as if the NJC recommends that we have found the Chief Judge guilty and so you should remove him. The Chief Judge has the right to also go to court to challenge the decision of the NJC. So you see that it is an open-ended process. It gives you a lot of window. Respect the provisions of the Constitution. Like the Secretary said, Montesquieu, Baron de Montesquieu, clearly defined what you call and stated the confines of separation of powers. You have the legislature, you have the judiciary, you have the executive. All these arms of government are provided in the Constitution. If you look at Section 4, Section 5, and Section 6, they have all made provisions for these 3 arms of government. So everyone, in as much as they are separated and they have their defined functions, each and every one is supposed to act as checks and balances on the other one. So, but if you, in order to avoid this friction and this acrimony, then everybody must respect his own boundaries. In the circumstances, the question everybody is asking is, did the legislature, hereby represented by House of Assembly, did they follow the due process? Did they follow the procedure? And the answer is, the popular answer is no. The popular answer is no. And then you ask, executive, did they also play their part? The answer is no. And so all that Nigerians are asking, all that the Benue citizen is asking, all everybody is asking, go back. The popular demand is that go back and follow the due process. And that's the only way you can strengthen the relationship between the judiciary and the legislature, even in the instant embargo. That is the only way you can solve this problem. Let everyone go back to the drawing board. Let us go back to the defined, the valid and accepted procedure as laid down in the Constitution. That's the only way we can resolve this matter. Short of that, it will continue.
All right. Many groups, the NJC has distanced itself from the alleged position of the Assembly, stating that as far as the Council is concerned, until the complaint is investigated and deliberated upon, Honorable Justice Bambasi remains the Chief Judge of the state. I'm quoting a part of the statement.
Yes, that's what they said. Yes.
Now, do you foresee that should the Assembly go back and start the process fresh, will it be valid?
They have already sent a petition to the NJC. NJC acknowledged receipt of that petition on the morning of 18th.
Yes.
19th.
On the morning on 19th, they acknowledge that they have already got the petition. You see, it is very dangerous. The legal profession is a profession of procedure and law. That is why we call it substantial and adjectiva. You have both the substantive law and the adjectiva without the procedure. So by the time you start a wrong procedure, in fact, procedure is what kickstarts a process in the legal profession. It's sacrosanct. You don't jump it. Like my secretary, you don't just start it from, you must start it from the right procedure. Or else you will be denied of jurisdiction or the locals in the first place. They have already sent the petition. NJC is receiving the petition. Are they going to withdraw the petition and say, sorry, we have realized that we did it wrong? That there's already a predetermined situation that the process itself is wrong. So when there's the public assumption that the process, the commencement is wrong, there's also that perception that it's a witch hunt.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
And you see, you're putting the cart before the horse. A lot of things are going on. There's so much underplay. The onslaught is still going on. This morning we read, in fact, last night we read that they are going to besiege the premises of the High Court. As you know, they have already put sand, the sharp sand, barricaded and blocked the entire entrance of the High Court.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's it.
Yes, they did it. The same way they did at other places, the same way they have done. They put heaps of sharp sand blocking the entrance of the High Court. And last night, they requested that there should be a meeting, all support groups to converge at the High Court premises. So you can see that the onslaught is going on. So you see, if you're not very careful, like the secretary said, even if you have a good case, you will end up marrying your case. The allegations, the petition is already before the National Judicial Council. So why not wait for the outcome? the onslaught is continuing. So it's clearly exemplary. It's clearly an indication, or it's a pointer to the fact that something is wrong somewhere. So all I am saying is that NJC has said it loud and clear. Wait for us. Let us investigate the allegations contained in the petition. And if we find the CJ culpable, fine and good, we will dish out, we will provide our findings and recommend for his removal. Wait for us. Let us do our work. The petition is on our table. So whatever you intend to do, very much in a hurry.
All right, dear listener, if you are just tuning in, you are listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM, Makurdi State, concerning the contentious suspension or removal of the Benue State Chief Judge. And at 10 o'clock, some minutes away, you can also have your voice on the program. The microphone will be yours once you phone in on the number 0814-335-9292. The number, once again, is 0814-335-9292. Meanwhile, the SMS line is already available for you to utilize. The line is 0912-699-9404. I take the number once again, 0 on WhatsApp. Right Honorable Mngutyo, based on what we have heard from the Assembly, and it's in public domain, your official releases have been issued, 13 members have been suspended. And these 13 members, the argument is that the quorum, the two-thirds majority, was not secured in voting for the removal of the state chief judge. Because maybe I should explain a bit further. They said that attendance at the sitting that day was 31 members. And the House is stating that 23 members voted, while 13 said they did not vote. Help us understand, if the two-thirds majority was not secured, why was this pronouncement made, going by the situation?
You see, when we started this discussion, I didn't hesitate to say that the Assembly ridiculed themselves. They ridiculed themselves. As a matter of fact, that is the summary of all that has transpired. Why were they in so much a haste to hang the chief judge, to condemn him? Even if they had a good case, they have spoiled it by themselves. Because they took the first step wrongly, every other step they came did not take the proper procedure. Okay, in examining him, it has therefore rendered every other action they have taken suspect, so made it suspicious. You know, when I observed what happened, I did not even see a proper voting on the video that was relayed. I didn't see a proper voting procedure. I just saw a voice vote call. After the suggestion by Honorable Bekiopi that this House be divided into sections to vote, I just saw the clerk got up and just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 23. At the counting from 5, he jumped to 23. They didn't even show us the members who were seated. It made the thing was just laughable, You know, we have a platform, former legislators, who have just exited the Assembly. Our comments amongst ourselves, even on the platform, everybody was just laughing.
Maybe
everybody was just laughing.
I should join you
as legislators,
because
because it was an abuse of even the legislative process. It was not correct at all. You know, how can you just start counting from who voted? Were 23 or were 17 on the hand that were for and against? Then you will ascertain the actual number of members who were in that chambers. That was not done. What I saw from the video that was presented before me, I saw the counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then to 23. From 5 to 23. We are about developing Benin has committed fraudulent activities. Give him the benefit of fair hearing. Let him defend himself. Bring him to the Assembly, or assign your committee, who is now the representative of the entire Assembly, to the field to go and investigate him and bring their finding, okay, to the House. Then they can take a decision and forward it to governor or write to the NJC. And because that was not done, even if they go back and tender apology and withdraw what happened, as a layman, I will still say there's still something suspicious why do you want to remove this man by all means? If genuinely, truly he erred, you should have allowed him defend himself. Perhaps he will even entangle himself more in the course of your investigation. Okay?
Yes.
Then you will pass the judgment. But because that was not done, even if they retract their steps now by withdrawing the removal verdict, I would say that no. They just want to hang this man innocently. Even Jesus in the Bible, when the Jews wanted to crucify him, they went to the king, crucify this man, crucify him. They said, no. Our Lord does not permit judgment before hearing from the other side. And when they allowed the second person to come and testify, that is Jesus himself now, after he testified himself, the people said no. The king said no, that I found that there's nothing wrong in this man. But because of their insistence, he was subjected to crucifixion. This man, even if they retract their position now, for me, I would say no, the man is innocent. Perhaps I would just allude it to political tussle. Political tussle.
But the man is not a politician.
Listen to me. Just listen to me.
Okay.
1 minute.
Yes.
I told you earlier on that the assembly acted a script. That script was crafted by who? Somebody somewhere.
Anyway, this allegations subject to be proven.
Yes.
Let me allow you land. Just a moment, let's allow you.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
I'm not a lawyer, but I'm saying it as a layman, as a former legislator, and the way I see it.
Yes. Anyway,
I had been in that system before.
Very well.
Don't forget.
Yeah, we're relying on your
That's
experience.
fine. So if I'm saying something, don't take it lightly.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't take it lightly at all. I know what happens and what has happened. As a matter of fact, I was even hesitant to say that some amounts of money were mentioned out there as having exchanged hands. Some members who came out to say they were not part of it even mentioned the figures that they were presented with to do the exercise, and they objected. That's why this suspension was clamped on them. You know? So let's follow a process duly, okay?
Yes.
So that at the end of the day, we'll be justified in whatever action we have taken.
Anyway, yes.
Maybe before you go
fine.
to, let me quickly. That's what you call in the House of Assembly of the National Assembly, what's called Hansard. Call it Hansard. Hansard is the entire record of the proceeding. You also have the order paper. You
Yes.
have the rules and proceeding. Is that not so?
Yes.
All these things should have been made public for us to look at them, so that we can, from the beginning of the proceedings for that day, the Benue citizens would have looked at it and said, okay, this is how it started. And that's what you call executive session. Before they go into plenary, that's what you call executive session. It's normally held in the speaker's office. It is in that forum that they determine what is to be discussed on that day. They discuss everything.
Yes.
Whatever takes place in the National Assembly or the House of Assembly does not take place in the plenary. Whatever takes place is being rehearsed in the executive session. So if they go that day, you are going to speak on this, you are going to say this, you are going to, and they agree in the executive session before they go into the plenary. Do you understand? All these things are there. So if this was a transparent process, the Benue public needs to know how it started and how it has come to this point. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's just what I want to.
Now, before I come to Barrister Iorzenda, Mngutyo, you alleged that the process may have been circumvented, but with the suspension of the 13 lawmakers now, which the House described their action of going to the press to speak that they were not proud of the Chief Judge. They described the action as dishonorable, and even went on to ask them to make refund of monies that were paid to them for a foreign trip.
travels.
Yes.
What is the situation that the suspension will be effected and the entitlements of the members will be asked to be revoked too?
I told you earlier on that when the first step taken is wrong, the first foot taken is wrong, all subsequent actions follow suit. Because they erred initially, you can now see their actions have exonerated the so-called suspended members. And now they have gotten the strength now to even to voice out the more. Okay? Because they didn't show us the actual people that voted and didn't vote. These people now that are saying that they voted. How can you ascertain now? How can you ascertain whether truly they voted or not? You're asking them to make refunds. They have made the whole thing, they're opening up, they're watching their dirty linens now in the public. Why did they even have to say that members have collected extra code to travel abroad? Does the public need to hear all this? You know, they are even exposing themselves the more. This ordinarily, when you are supposed to embark on foreign trips, these things are quiet. The public does not even know. Most times, when we go and come back, that the public knows that we travel abroad. But because now they took a step wrongly, now it has transcended now to exposing the entire assembly. Even their secrets now.
You lawmakers don't want the public to know that you have access money for travels.
But see, they are announcing it themselves now. They are announcing it themselves now. The whole world now knows that they have collected extra code, dollars. Everybody is looking for now. They have collected to travel abroad, asking them to make refunds. How can you make refunds? How can these members make refunds of these monies now when they know that they have done nothing wrong? And you don't want them to air out their views. You are forcing decisions on them. When they didn't vote, you say they participated in the voting, and you have not proved where they actually took part in the voting. That's not proof to show that they actually voted and then changed their mind. No, these are adults. They came there representing various constituencies. So if you force a decision on them, and because of the virtue of your position as speaker, you want to clamp down on them, they will voice out. They'll go to the press, which is what they did. They have the right to do that in defense of themselves. And thank God now they have both the NJC, the NBA, and the entire public now. Even the National Assembly now is against them. These are their senior colleagues, so they are against them.
Yesterday, the majority leader of the House addressed a press conference and insisted that the House acted within the confines of the law,
yes,
allowing then the Assembly, and the narrative consistent is that he is not removed as a judge. He is only removed as chief judge of the state. The Assembly has insisted that its action is within its confines. How do you react to that?
You see, a press conference with three members out of 32. He went to press with 3 members, himself and 2 others. Do you justify that? How many people voted for the removal of the chief judge? Were it 3 people? What? These people that opposed were 13 on camera. So if you go to oppose what the 13 people are saying, why do 3 of you just go there? And you are the leader. He was representing the speaker. Why didn't they carry the remaining 17, the 17 or 23, to the press conference? So that we'll see now and say, yes, actually, this number actually voted for the removal of the chief judge. I told you it was a script horribly played to the detriment of both the sponsors of the script and the actors of the script.
Mr. Nongu, let us be very clear about what we are discussing here so that the public can get the perspective into which we are talking.
Yes, briefly.
The first question is, do they even have the powers to remove? That's the thing. The Constitution says you can only pray. So there's no way they will justify what they did. Do they have the powers? Ipso facto, ab initio, do they have it? They have the place. You will pray. When you look at the allegations emanating from whichever quarters, they will look at it, the length and breadth of it, and see. If it is veritable, then they will pray. Yes. That's the prayer. It's a prayer. It's prayer remover. Prayer simply means that you are praying to somebody that's a superior body that's supposed to give you an answer. You don't have the powers yourself. So prayer means the person has the discretion whether to grant your prayers or not to grant your prayers. So the Constitution says that the House of Assembly will pray. After looking at the allegations, if the allegations are justifiable, then they will pray for the removal of the chief judge. But before that, NJC will have to investigate. These conditions are sacrosanct. You can't substitute them. You can't pick and choose which one favors you. That's not the procedure.
All right, Vice Iorzenda, quickly, yes, before we engage with the listener, give us comments on how we can, this situation can be resolved to maintain the integrity of the judiciary and the legislature. And
just before I get to that, I want to clear something. You see, that press release done by the majority leader is an completely afterthought to correct what they did wrong. But somehow, the people know better. No voting was done. If you watch that video clip, the same majority leader was the one that stood up himself expressly. Nobody was forcing him. He asked Mr. Speaker, sir, please, with this voting, let the House know what is the effect. That was when the speaker clearly expressed his view and said, and stands removed. They didn't at any point say the prayers. You know, the thing was that, like we keep saying, it's a script that they didn't even know how to play it. The prayers on the motion paper were different. the resolution was different.
What's different?
What a laughable stuff. The prayer was that recommend this for discipline, and then when Mr. Speaker was about to resolve and hit the gavel, he said, by this voting, the chief judge stands removed, and went ahead to say that the next person in line should be sworn in. How can you now turn around to argue that what you did was not a removal? You were recommending by that poorly written press statement that he issued yesterday. It was because after everything, they started getting bashing from all corners, from legal experts, from former parliamentarians, and even the man watching on the street. And then, if you even go to that voting, what I know and what I have been watching them, I'm not a member of the House of Assembly yet, but I know what I have been seeing them do is that when there is a motion, there is also always a call for a counter motion. Was that done? The first thing we had was those Mr. Clark divide the house. They divided the house. They did some abracadabra. 1, 2, 3, 23. Okay, who are the ones voting against? What number are we going? It should have been on record that 23 voted for. Then 3 voted against. We have not seen that. So all that they are doing now is just try to
damage control,
hoodwink other people to know that what they did was right. They didn't get it right. Now, to come to your question,
yes, briefly.
about what we are going to do now, about 3 bodies or institutions with integrity have come out, who do not even know the chief judge, have come out to say what has happened is a sham. It cannot be allowed to stand. The chief judge is still the chief judge. The NBA National, presided over by or led by Mr. Afam Osigwe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, the NBA at the branch level, and then the NJC themselves, they have said that, well, this thing cannot stand. So far as we are concerned, that's the NJC.
And last night I read from the Judicial Workers, Judicial Union also issued a statement. I read them.
So you can see, how can 4 institutions who have not been influenced by anybody, or even by the chief judge, come out to speak in one voice, and then only you about the so-called 23 are now saying the same thing? So what I am saying is that so far as the NBA is concerned, so far as the NJC is concerned, even the National Assembly, what they are saying is that what has happened or what happened on the 18th or at the floor of the assembly is unconstitutional, and for them to retrace their steps, we as the NBA, we have given them some what our opinion. We say quickly reconvene an emergency sitting and rescind or reverse yourself and call back and say, well, we acted in error. They are not too big to be above any mistake. We acted in error. We are calling this man back pending the investigations that we have sent to the NJC, and let the man continue to act without any hindrance. Now he can't access the office. Heaps of sand have been developed or deposited at the entrance where he is supposed to enter and do his duties, official duties. If you say you did not remove him, why are you doing all these things? You know, to oust him and throw him out of office by fire, by force. So for me, let them do the right thing. Let them call the man back and say, well, what we intended, even though we pronounced you removed, you have not been removed. Let the allegations against you be heard, and if there is a recommendation that you should be removed, then you will be, so that we can have, it is affecting us, it is affecting the common man. So that is the way I look at it.
All right, a short breather and then we'll start engaging with you, the listener. Stay with us. Number to reach us on the program is 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us, stay on the issues. Let's know your name and where you are calling from. Your submission should be kind and brief. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Hello. Hello, good morning. Hello. Okay, we lost connection with that call already. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Could you move away from your radio set?
Yeah, I've made it.
Thank you. Let's know your name and where you're calling from.
I'm just Simon by name, calling from the Malog government, South Council Ward.
Okay. Inja Simon.
Isha.
Isha.
ISHR.
Okay, go ahead, Isha.
No, I only want to appreciate this program because since I've been hearing this, it is today I've gotten the details. So I only want to appreciate and thank you.
Okay, we appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, if you have a contribution, Simons, it's just an appreciation. You may have a question because we need this issue to be clarified and resolved. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, Nathaniel, and the guest in the house.
Yes, go on. We do not have the time for many compliments today.
Okay, I'm good.
Yes.
Emeka calling from Welfare Portal.
All right, Emeka, go on.
So I want to appreciate my appreciation as usual for enlightening us all the time.
Thank you.
Following this case in the news media, many of us are confused because everybody claims they are right in their actions. But this program has thrown a lot of light and enlightened us much more about our constitutional institutions. So, but what I want to chip in here is that first of all, they talk about whether the legislature doesn't have enough experience. I thought we have something called Legislative Institute that is supposed to be training some of these new comers, so to speak, in the legislative processes in their various areas. And another thing I observed, I don't know whether the speaker was stampeded into making that decision, because from what I learned, the discussion was still going on when they suddenly called for vote. And from what has been said, it seems he was kind of pressured or stampeded or from lack of experience, and he took the actions he has taken that has brought the Benue State House of Assembly to this situation they are in now. Another thing I want to mention is this independence we keep talking about. Whose fault is it? Is it the fault of the executive that these people are not independent, or did they kind of, I use the word sell, I don't know whether it's proper for me to use that word. Did they sell themselves to the executive to, push them around? Because if they stand on their feet and stand on the constitution, I don't think the executive has the right to push them around. But if they expose themselves to the executive to push them around, then they will be happy to do that. So I'm advising them to stand their ground.
All right.
And this issue of going abroad, what are they going there to do?
Okay, Emeka, thank you. Thank you. Your point is made. We appreciate you for calling in. Let's be brief so as to enable others also have the opportunity to contribute. Independence of the judiciary, and of course, not just the judiciary, the institutions, the legislature should be maintained. I think that's your submission in protection of the Constitution. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, good morning, all the guests in the studio.
Thank you. Please go ahead. Once your good morning first one is established, go ahead because we do not have too much time.
Okay, sir. My name is Theophilus at the end from the Bango.
Thank you, Theophilus.
Yes, I want to say that when two elephants are fighting, only the grass will suffer. Legislature and the judiciary are big brothers in governance. So when there is problem among them, unity, progress, and development will hardly thrive. So I want to call on the National Assembly members, especially those from Benue, to come down and intervene in this matter so that peace will return among these two arms of government. And if possible, the Benue House of Assembly should go back again to the drawing board and do the needful by bringing out the result that will be accepted by all, according to the petition sent against the Chief Judge of Benue State. They should go back and do thorough investigation to bring out acceptable result to the people of Benue State. And I want to lastly appreciate NJC for their quick intervention into this matter so that peace will return among these two arms of government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Theophilus. We appreciate you for calling. Okay, 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us, be very brief. Save us the compliments. Once we take your call, no need for too many greetings so that we don't accommodate many. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to Perspective.
Morning. Good morning, sir.
You are on. Speak to us. Kindly move away from your radio.
Okay, I think it's clear now.
Yes.
All right, thank you. This is Friday calling from International Market Road of the state. I think it has been brought to our notice. So many things going wrong within the state. But I think as a nation and as a state and as a people, we should imbibe the culture of doing what is right all the time. Based on the issue, there are procedures that guide the operations of institutions of government and of the people. The State Assembly is one of the institutions that enhance development of people and making of laws for the state. If an infraction is committed by the chief judge of the state, there are rules and regulations that guide the operations of such misappropriation or misconduct or mishappenings envisaged or alleged, because whatever has been said against the chief judge is an alleged infraction. By the law, the National Judicial Council is also recommended when there are issues like this. They are the one that will receive the petition from whichever institution or the government in power to look at what the chief judge has done. The NBA is also part of that institution because every judges and lawyers are part of the Nigerian Bar Association. That brings me to this. If the State Assembly has seen that someone is pushing them for the removal of Justice Morisi Pambese, they should have done their due diligence. First of all, submit a petition and follow the rules of the House in removing the person in question. But by looking at what has happened in the House already, it is gross abuse of processes for the removal of the chief judge of a state.
Okay.
That brings me to this conclusion. All the institutions that are available, the NJC has condemned the action, even though having received the petition, which they have acknowledged. The petition is still in the process. The investigation and alleged infraction by the chief judge of the state is also being looked.
Conclude, please. Conclude.
Yes. While this process is on, I believe we are getting the politics of the state wrong.
Friday, thank you. We appreciate you. You have taken up to 3 minutes. you said you were concluding, but you started a fresh submission. We appreciate you all the same. Your point is noted. We do not have time, so be brief. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, my brother. This is Odode calling.
Good to have you, Odode. Where are you reaching us from?
I'm reaching you right in the heart of Benue State today.
Okay. That's Makurdi, right, I suppose?
Yes.
Which part of Makurdi, if you may?
I'm right now in Nigeria.
Good. Go ahead.
Do you... I want to hear energies that you said.
Hello, Odode.
I'm looking...
Hello, Odode.
We're once an issue... Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go on.
I say we're once an issue...
I'm afraid, Odode, we may disconnect with you. The network is getting unfriendly and your voice is not coming through. But the line is still available. You may connect with us back if you may. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Yes, my name is Edward Pedani. I'm calling from Modern Market Road.
All right.
Yes, my perspective this morning is, for me, it is the joy of democracy. But the unfortunate thing, as we know that we have three arms of government, it is only the judiciaries that have the power to interpret the laws. And even in this case, it's not different. So I would advise that the lawyers should go to court and seek for injunction in order not to any other person. I appreciate your effort, but when it comes to a lawyer, it's as if you are. Yes, but when you have a case, when you have a judgment against you, you are supposed to go for an appeal. So the lawyer should know where to go and seek for redress, not to come to the public and start misleading some of us, because
Ezra,
it is making us confused.
Hello,
yes.
Ezra. In this case, no court litigation has been initiated against anybody here. This is not what we're discussing. Maybe you have lost.
They should do the needful.
Maybe you have lost. Ezra, maybe you have lost connection with what we are discussing. But all the same, we appreciate you for calling in. That is not, no litigation has been initiated, and that is not the focus. So please be guided to make your contribution.
Hello?
Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I call back this Odode.
Okay, thank you, Odode.
I was referring to the case between federal government versus water energy. And then you look at it now, this is a case between the state and the Chief Justice of the state. That what I'm looking at is that when once allegation issue has been leveled against you, the first thing you have to deny. You cannot be a judge in your own empire. You step aside so that an independent investigation should be set so that they come to investigate them. But the judge is being sitting as a Chief Justice of the state and they are investigating him on sitting down on that seat. I think it's uncalled for. So to me, I would like him to step aside, let another one be mounted to that position. Then why the investigation go on? If he didn't find out later on that he's not being guilty, he can come back and resume his work. That's the way I look at it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. We appreciate
and
you.
I would like to also allow peace to reign in Benue State, please.
Okay.
Let's allow peace to reign in Benue State.
Thank you,
so
Ode.
much.
But maybe in line with your submission, when you mentioned that he should step aside, the NJC, which is the authority vested on this, in line with the Constitution, has issued a statement saying the council, until the complaint against the man is deliberated upon and investigated properly, he remains the chief judge. I'm quoting from the statement of the NJC, which I have before me. So we should also be guided in our submissions. The essence of the program is to enlighten us as well. So we should be guided. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
Welcome to Perspectives.
I'm calling from OGRA. My name is Ella.
The name is who?
Ella, E-double-L-A.
Ella who?
Anthony.
Thank you, Ella Anthony.
Yeah, recently, the kind of judgments they have been giving out, and we have found out that oftentimes most lawyers are in bed with them where they funnel bribes and all that to them. Having said that, you cannot build something on nothing. So the premise they have taken, and by not following the procedure, they are totally wrong by doing what they have done. And so for me, it's a nullity. They have to go back to the drawing board, and then let's have peace in Benue State. If not, the way things are going will continue to go, and the arm of the wheel of justice turns slowly. By the time this matter becomes a court issue now, it will continue to linger, and this crisis will continue. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for calling in. Okay. There should be no crisis. There should be peace, which is what everyone is calling for. There should be no constitutional crisis. Hello. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Welcome to Perspectives.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Comrade Achimi Oguche, calling from Modern Market.
Good to have you join us, Achimi Oguche.
Thank you very much. The problem on ground now is the people concerned, the Judiciary, the Bar Association, Nigerian Bar Association, they should be able to address issue when the problem started. Take for instance, when Justice Onege was removed by the Buhari administration, this organization, this NJC, Bar Association and other organizations, they were silent and he was removed. So we should not be choosing.
Anyway, Achimi.
Sir?
It is not in my place, but I think the case of Onogan is entirely different from what we are discussing. So narrow our focus to Benue, where we are focusing, so you don't take a longer time. When we come back, I will allow the analysts to react to the Onogan issue you raised anyway. But come back to the issue of Benue.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So in my opinion, the State Assembly, from all indication, they have not followed the due process. So if they have any allegation against the Chief Justice of the state, they should go back to the drawing board and put everything in proper perspective so that if he's really convicted, then he has to be shown out and the next person online should take over the office. So that is my own opinion. Thank you very much.
We appreciate you. Thanks so much for calling in. All right. Hello. The number to call in on the program once again 0814-335-9292. 0814-335-9292. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning.
Welcome.
My name is Nongu David, but my calling to Makurdi Branch.
And Nongu David.
But my calling to Makurdi.
Okay, go ahead, David.
For my opinion, let House of Assembly should not be 2 centimeter in the following issues. Because they should know that what you do today will follow you the next 100 years, even though you are not alive. So let them follow the due process. Let not say the correspondence comes from the executive, so that the man will be happy. No, let them do the right thing. Because your name will live forever. And history will carry you. As a member of House of Assembly, they said during your time, the assembly was the worst assembly as for that time. So let them follow the right thing. Let them do the right thing. They don't be 2 centimeters. Let them say, I want to quit the executive or whatsoever. Not good. Let them do the right thing. And history will carry them. Let them be aware of that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. We appreciate you. The Assembly should do the right thing, follow due process for posterity's sake. David says so. Welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. My name is Mercy, calling from Nima.
Okay, Mercy who?
Mercy Atukai.
Mercy Atukai.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead, Mercy.
All right. In fact, I've been following the program of the scenario since it began on Wednesday, and it's quite a shame. Because for me, it's like it all boils down on incompetency in the part of our state assembly. They didn't follow the due process. And you see, it's causing, in fact, I'm just so ashamed about all what is in Benue state government. We're enjoying what is happening at first when this government started. So at the end of the day, they are saying that the state assembly are not helping matters at all because there's this division between them. It's like they are divided into two. So the ones suspended are for, the APC party for now are divided into two. So some are for this person, the others are for this person. They are not working for the entire Benue state. And that is what we want. Whatever judgment, whatever scenario that is happening, they should work for the common masses, not for themselves. Not because they have grudges between them, not just for themselves.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy. We appreciate you for calling in. When women call into discussion programs like this, I'm really excited because on this program, we seldom have women. Anyway, let's take some messages. This one says, hello, our discussants in the House. What the Assembly did was illegal, unconstitutional, unfair, and unjust, considering the rule of law, human rights, and separation of powers. No due process was followed, no fair hearing for the Chief Judge, no committee report. So it is a clear portrayal that the Assembly was bought by the executive. That's an allegation anyway. This is a shame that the Assembly members lack constitutional knowledge. We, the public, are watching to see if the judiciary is actually independent. In Nigeria, democracy is not done like this. Let Assembly record their actions and follow due process. Politics of acrimony will not help us. Judiciary should stand firm on their legal rights and say no to intimidation. Veshima Tezungwe from Ahule in Makurdi. Veshima, thank you for your position on the program. This one says, good morning, I get radio. Please, the 13 members, are they really suspended? Stephen Tambi behind NAF base Makurdi. Well, the official release is yes. The information is available. They are suspended. Thank you, Stephen. Good morning, the presenter and guest in the house. I am Kanti Michael from Gado Villa. Mine is just to advise all the bodies involved in this matter to come together to resolve this matter. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much for your advice. Kanti, we appreciate you. This one says, good morning, presenter and a guest in the house. Between Benue lawmakers and the judiciary, what is the way forward? Bello Musa from North Bank. All right, Bello Musa, of course, is a way forward that we are also discussing. We hope that we should come to it. to arrive at what would be the way forward for the situation at hand. Another one here in our WhatsApp box says, the truth is that even the Benue State House of Assembly knows that the action taken for the removal of the Chief Judge of the state is illegal. The target is to buy into illegality and waste time so that what they want to achieve could be achieved within a particular period, knowing so well that our judicial processes take time to give verdicts on pressing state or national issues. We are aware of the script and the APC conundrum about who is the state chairman of the party between Austin Agada and the new chairman Benjamin Omale with respect to the factions between Governor Hyacinth Dalia and SG Evacuman. Let me advise the state government, and of course, it should know that these long egocentric feuds are unnecessary and distraction from governors. If I were governor earlier, I would focus on delivering on my campaign promises and mandate that people vested on, and the mandate people vested on him, and forget about diving into politics that's already opening many political war fronts. Power comes from God, and he gives to who he deemed it fit, no matter the circumstances. So by arm of flesh no man prevails. Let him return to his original righteousness, cause to do always the right things. Danatai from Kwarafa Quarters. Okay, Danatai, we thank you for your message. Some of your submissions there are just mere allegations subject to be proven anyway. Another one here says, good morning, presenter and the guest. Well, I am pained in a way because I think none of the current assembly members who were part of such surprising and funny conduct is in the studio there to possibly give their verdict of it all. That is, if there was and still anything to defend. But again, I commend the lawyers in the studio and the former legislator for explicitly stating our facts, at least how it should have been carried out. No one is taking sides with the chief judge on account that what is alleged isn't true, especially now that it is rightly prosecuted for conclusion. This is simply advocating for right procedures to be used. The worst of it all is that 13 members suspension, a lot of things transpired, but we hope the reaction from the public so far will correct two proud hearts of the members to learn where and when the support of them be taking such decisions. I suggest that state government engage more seminars for our assembly members to have them informed, just so we don't have all these contemptible means and vie. I am Stephen Desi Akpa from Logo 2 in Makurdi. Stephen, we thank you for your message. This one says, this is Pius Matsavga from Logo 1 Makurdi. For me, I am of the option that the State Assembly should please follow the laid down rules before action will be taken. I appreciate the two guests in the studio. Thank you. All right, Stephen, we'll appreciate you. Hello, our discussants. What the Assembly did, okay, we took this earlier as a message, and it's also there in the WhatsApp box. This one says, the powers that be wanted to remove the chief judge and not follow due process and had been reminded on the right procedures concerning such scenarios. They should therefore retrace their steps and do the right thing. Thank you. Ede Oga Gabriel from Makurdi. Oga, we thank you for your message. This one says, may God bring peace and let's fight for peace and stand for peace. Thank you. Uche Peter from Naka Road. All right, we appreciate you. We'll pause temporarily on some of the messages and come back shortly. Good morning. Welcome to Hit the Call.
Yes, I'm so happy for today, and I'm so happy for those our house, those 13 members of our House of Assembly that they refuse to vote, and my member is one among them. I'm proud coming from Ushungu local government, not only Ushungu local government matter.
Okay,
because
take the call. You are just calling to give out callings to your member. I think that's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, because I'm proud. I'm proud of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Okay, we'll pause temporarily on the calls and come back. I'll begin with you, Barrister Aande. Okay, one of the callers raised a concern comparing what is happening in Benue currently over the contentious removal of the chief judge of the state with what transpired during the time of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onogen, in the Buhari administration. Are these two cases the same?
They are poles apart. There's no iota of similarity between these two cases. You know, Justice Onogen was not removed by the National Assembly. Neither was he removed by the president of this country. What removed him was the Code of Conduct Tribunal. And the Code of Conduct Tribunal investigated allegations against him and asked him to step aside. That's what happened. There is no similarity between what happened during Onogen and what is happening today. The procedure was followed. Why did they also go? Because the Chief Judge of Benue State, the Chief Judge of Benue State also filled a form, that's the Code of Conduct form. So if they feel that maybe there were discrepancies in what he wrote, they still would have also approached the Code of Conduct Tribunal and asking that he should be removed. You understand? So there are different scenarios here. In fact, the Constitution does not even provide that you should only go through this process. It says that the Chief Judge can be removed following this procedure where there's a possibility. There are instances that he's able to perform the official functions of his office. And one of the official functions is that probably there's a great breach of how he feel the Code of Conduct. He has gone against what he feel in the Conduct Bureau. And that was what happened in Onogen. It was not in this same scenario.
All right.
It was purely the Code of Conduct Tribunal that had him removed based on the allegations that were presented against him.
Very well. So
you understand that he has got judgment reinstating him.
We need the listener, the audience to understand this clearly. Now, Barrister Iorzenda, one of the callers also said the NBA, he said lawyers should not be speaking in the media. They should go to court. Does this situation warrant going to court?
Well,
go to court has become a popular phrase.
If that listener is still listening, I would want to let him know that lawyers, by the very nature of their work, are the watchdogs of the society. The court is only a place where we go and advocate for others. And so it is not in all circumstances that we should be restricted to the courtrooms. I have a right as a lawyer and then as a public affairs analyst to analyze issues and give direction to issues that are going wrong in the society. A lot of people look up to us lawyers to provide a sense of direction. It is not only when they come to your office and brief you and pay that you should direct them. This situation is one of it. And then, to maybe be point blank in answering him, the courts to which he's referring us are closed, are shut down right now by the same executive that we are complaining about. Even the legislature.
Anyway, for purpose of this program, it's an allegation subject to be proven because we may not be aware whether it is the executive.
The JUSUN are asking the executive to implement, mind you, the role of the executive to implement whatever either has been passed by the assembly or has been interpreted by the judiciary. So one of the things why they are on strike is that one of their agreements or a court judgment is yet to be implemented by the executive. They have the papers. I am not a member of the judiciary, and so that is the extent to which I know that what they are asking can only be done by the executive, not by the legislature, not even by any other private person. So if this person is saying, this listener is saying that we should only go to court and advocate there, no, I'm sorry, sir. We cannot only be restricted to the court halls. This is one of the duties we owe the society, to present direction where issues go wrong. And so we cannot be silenced and restricted only to the court halls. And then let me also quickly.
Yes.
Also, someone talked about what do you call it? That the chief judge should step aside because they are investigating.
Very well.
Yes, I want. That is not the position. The Constitution did not say that when they are investigating you, you should step aside. No, that is not the procedure. The procedure is that if allegations are leveled against you, the House of Assembly make their findings and present a prima facie case against you to the NJC. And the NJC, upon finding that you are guilty or whatever, we now recommend to the governor that you should be removed as the chief judge. As I am talking to you, there are a lot of petitions that have been written against the current chief judge. All of them have been dismissed by the NJC. So and then once the allegations are not proven, they call you to come back. Will that man ever do that job? No. Whatever time he has, he will be inundated with all forms of petitions.
And national. had actually, in their statement, warned any judge from presenting his or herself to be sworn in acting capacity.
We are going to do that.
And maybe I should quote a portion of the NJC statement. It said, as unfortunate as this development is, the Council wishes to reiterate that there are clear and unambiguous provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, on discipline and appointment of judicial officers vested in the Council, which clearly are not adhered to in the instant case. Yes. And they say the Council, although had this morning received a petition, that was in reference to Tuesday, against Honorable Justice Igambisi. The petition is yet to be investigated in line with the Council's investigation procedure and principles of fair hearing.
Very well.
I think that.
As at now, the man cannot step aside. That is what the point that our listeners have to understand. Yes. Until the final resolution of the NJC is brought out, he still remains. And that is why they concluded that press release by stating the obvious, that he remains the Chief Judge of Benue State. Yes. So we can't advocate that he steps aside. That is incorrect.
Maybe people should get it exactly what we're trying to say. We're not making any case for the Chief Judge of Benue State, but what we're simply saying, our grouse is with the procedure. And that is also the concern of NJC. We are not saying that maybe your allegations are not veritable or whatever. What we're saying is that, can you follow the right procedure? That's the only thing we're saying. Like my secretary said, MB is not interested in the merit or the merits or whatever. We are not interested in the merit or the allegation. But what we're saying is that follow the due process. That's all that MB. We stand for the law. We stand for the supremacy of the law. We stand for the rule of law. And that's what we're simply saying.
All right.
And sir,
just a moment. I will need to give time to others too. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Oh, lost connection with you already. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
You are on. Speak to us.
Hello.
I'm sorry, if you can't hear us, you have to call in again. 0814-335-9292. That's the number to phone in on the program. Now, Barry Mngutyo, before we engage with I'm so sorry. Anyway, you are sandwiched by a lawyer, so maybe you have become Right Honorable Mngutyo. Another caller mentioned ensuring the peace of Benue State. How can we find a middle ground for peace in the whole of this situation with the legislature and the judiciary being
Nigeria's this country, so that they can dance, they use the assembly. When they want to remove chairmen that are not dancing to their whims and caprices, they use the assembly. So I'm just trying to answer the question when he said who is responsible for the non-independence of the assembly? Nigerian governors forum. They are the problem. No governor will want.
But the Constitution provides you with the independence in the Constitution. So why the governors?
I'm telling you what is practicable, what is happening today. They want to hold the assembly. What has happened in Benue today? You cannot exonerate government house from what is happening today. Perhaps the chief judge is not dancing to their tune.
Which again is an allegation that is subject to be proven.
That's why I emphasize the word perhaps.
Okay.
Perhaps. Otherwise, we have been talking about procedure here. Why have they maintained a wrong procedure from the onset? Both from the actors, the sponsor of the script and the actors of the script. Allow the parliament to get their independence. I assure you, these things will cease. Because we have the society today is bedeviled with corruption. There is no money. Any member that goes to the assembly, all he's thinking about, the money that will come to him.
Did you think about that when you were there too?
He will not partake in what came. That was true confession. True confession.
Oh, wow.
That's why I'm telling you that except true independence is accorded the parliament, these things will not cease in that assembly. Okay? So everybody wants to pull his members to himself, for him to dance to his tune. When you have divergent views.
But the rule of law, which is the Constitution, which is a ground norm of the country.
Unfortunately, that is what is happening today, even at the federal level. And don't forget that parties are involved. 2 parties have members in the assembly. 1 is in power, and they want to maintain their control over power. Unfortunately, that's what is happening. It shouldn't be so. That's what is happening. And so they have allowed the entire public now to suffer. Only God knows, except true peace returns to our system. Otherwise, we'll continue to have, such misdemeanors in our society. Allow the independence of the parliament. When the parliaments are properly funded, okay, legislators can rise to defend what is not correct if it comes from the executive arm of government. Not that when you send a faulty correspondence and then you back it up with money. And so members see money now and then they sell their consciences. Okay, at the end of it, due process is not followed, as we have just had now. So for peace to reign, let us just allow independence. Let the judiciary be absolutely independent. Let the parliament be absolutely independent. We have brains, people who are thoroughly educated and exposed and well informed in both arms, both the judiciary and the parliament. People who own up to their consciences. They are judged by what their consciences allow them to do. Such people can resist temptation to collect money and then alter something, what is right. So I'm just advocating for independence of the judiciary. Once we don't have that independence, we will continue to have rubber stamp legislators. Any correspondence that comes from government house, whether wrong or right, they'll just put it on the table, against what the public needs. That is my take on that.
All right, Barrister Aande, let me have your thoughts. We're gradually, we're trying to wind down. Let me have your thoughts on finding a balance between the legislature, the executive, and the judicial arm of a government. Clear separation of powers for upholding the rule of law and protection of the constitution of the country.
In a constitutional democracy, that's already provided in the Constitution and all the enabling laws, that there are clear separation of powers between the three arms there. And so they stop this acrimony. You definitely see some of these things. They have happened in other states. Benue is not peculiar. So what we're trying to say is that what we lawyers are always out advocating that the right things should be done. In as much as the separation of powers, in as much as there are checks and balances, they should be done in a healthy manner, in such a way that democracy will not be raped. The fundamentals of democracy, which is the rule of law, the supremacy of the Constitution, fairness, justice, and equity will be guaranteed. And that's all. By the time we behave very heavily, these fundamental principles will fall in place ordinarily. So until we begin to behave, take certain decisions, official or unofficial, in a manner that is in tandem with the provisions of the Constitution. If we don't do it, any aberration of any of these provisions is bound to bring what you're saying today. And so we as lawyers are always advocates and crusaders that the right thing should be done for the purposes of peace, welfare, and development, and as well as unity of our nation. Until we abide by the provisions of the Constitution, everybody should be allowed to do his work, so that the other person, other arm of government, should not be found overreaching the other one. By the time you see these instances of overreach, you are definitely going to see this anarchy.
All right. Many calls are still coming in, but unfortunately we are not. This administration has failed in sending our assembly members for seminars accordingly. The way they acted shows they are incompetent, and the National Assembly should intervene in this matter to save our dear state. Okay, Solomon, thank you. Unfortunately, you didn't specify where you sent your text from, but we appreciate you all the same for your position. This one says, my own is a question. I heard that 13 members were against the matter. So out of 31 members that were present at the sitting, if kilometer 4 Boko Road. Okay. Kenneth, thank you. Unfortunately, we had discussed, gone past that, so we may not go back to it. But Barrister Iorzenda, from the point of MBA, going forward, where do we go from here concerning this situation with the various interventions from the body's consent?
Yes.
This should be your concluding thoughts.
Okay. So,
briefly, please.
I want to make it very clear that the position of the NBA Makurdi Branch is in tandem with the position of the NBA National, as presented by our president, Mr. Afam Osigwe, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, to wit that the NBA completely rejects this illegal removal of the Chief Judge of Benue State. And then we urge on all our members to respect the Honorable Chief Judge, Honorable Justice Maurice Ahumbai Kambisi, as the Chief Judge of Benue State until whatever allegations against him are given a complete logical conclusion by the NJC. And so for our members, that is our position. And I also want to plead with both the leaders of the legislature and the executive in the state to find a way of resolving these issues so that there should be peace. The common person on the street is the one suffering. A lot of us can afford to eat food, but when these things happen and the judiciary is shut or the courts are shut, people in the prisons are the ones suffering here. And the common man that may be wrongly accused of committing any offense but may not even have an opposition or an avenue for him to be able to defend himself because the courts are shut down, that is unacceptable. So there should be a common ground for us to be able to find lasting peace in the state. Our state was once a very peaceful state. We shouldn't go back to the state of anarchy where life was short and brutish.
All right. Barrister Aande, let me have your concluding thoughts in 30 seconds, please.
Simply, what we're trying to do here is not to fuel whatever crisis that is already brewing.
Yes.
All that NBA is saying is that let the right thing be done, and we're ready for peace. We're not aggravating whatever. We're not escalating whatever is happening. So nobody should take our opinion, our legal opinion, as being prejudicial or whatever. What we're simply saying is that we value our dear state, we cherish our dear state, and let the three arms of government do the right thing in accordance with the Constitution. That's all that we're asking for.
And Right Honorable Mngutyo,
yes,
your concluding thoughts should be the Benue.
Yes.
The Senate referred the motion to its committee to be looked into. Help us comment on that briefly.
Well, the Assembly,
even though the Assembly has insisted that the National Assembly have no business meddling into its affairs,
they should swallow their pride and retrace their steps. They took wrong steps altogether. That is why their senior colleagues at the National Assembly have even condemned their action. It's nothing wrong for them to say, no, sorry, we are ill-informed, or for whatever reason we made mistakes and took such actions. They should retrace their steps. They are representing people, mind you, and people from these constituencies they are representing have condemned their actions. So what is wrong there in them saying they are retracing their steps? They are withdrawing the so-called removal because it was done unconstitutionally. Well, unfortunately, now they are on their way on a foreign trip. They have joined the House till the 25th of March. You see, but then they have the power to recall themselves from this short leave and then retrace their steps publicly. I think they will be heroes when they do that. There's no need for them to just grandstand it when they know they are wrong. And they should not forget also that the National Assembly has the power to take over their functions when they begin to arbitrarily disobey the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I think summarily they should retrace their steps, retract what they did on Tuesday in the House of Assembly, since it is condemned by everybody, including their constituents, people who sent them to represent them in the House of Assembly.
And that will be a fine place for us to conclude on today's edition of the program. Right Honorable Bem Mngutyo is a former minority leader in the 9th Benue State House of Assembly. He represented Taka State constituency. He is also a former state chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, Benue State Council. We thank you very much indeed, Mr. Mngutyo, for coming on this program.
My pleasure.
Barrister Polycarp Aande is a public affairs commentator and a legal practitioner. We appreciate your valuable insights on perspective.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
And of course, the Secretary of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA Makurdi Branch, Barrister Kelvin Iorzenda. Thank you very much, learned gentlemen, for your time.
The pleasure is mine.
Dear listener, that's our program today. We'll continue to watch the development as it unfolds, and Aande Radio will be here bringing you bit by bit of what is going forward. My name is Nathaniel Nongu. Have yourself a great weekend and join us next week Monday for a fresh edition of the program. Goodbye.